I drive a lot for work. I'm a sales rep covering the tri-state area. It gets lonely on the road, so I used Tinder mostly just to talk to people in the towns I passed through. I wasn't looking for hookups, just conversation. One night, while staying at a motel off I-95 in North Carolina, I matched with a girl named Sarah. Her profile said she loved road trips. We texted for a few hours. She was funny, charming. She asked where I was headed next. Heading up to Richmond tomorrow morning, I told her. No way! I need a ride to Richmond. My car broke down. I'll pay for gas, she replied. Against my better judgment, I agreed. She seemed normal. We met at a diner the next morning. She was petite, wearing an oversized hoodie, carrying a small backpack. She seemed harmless. The drive started fine, but about an hour in, the atmosphere shifted. We were on a long stretch of highway surrounded by dense pine forests. Sarah stopped talking. She just stared out the window, rocking back and forth slightly in her seat. You okay? I asked. Do you believe in fate? She asked, not looking at me. Her voice was flat, devoid of the bubbly tone she had at breakfast. Sure, I guess. I think we were meant to meet. I've been watching you. I laughed nervously. What do you mean? We matched last night. She turned to look at me. Her pupils were dilated, swallowing the iris. No. I saw you at the gas station in Savannah 3 days ago. Then I saw you at the rest stop in South Carolina. I didn't match with you until I knew you were the right one. My blood ran cold. I gripped the steering wheel. Savannah was 300 miles behind us. That's a coincidence, I stammered. Pull over, she said suddenly. What? We're on the highway. Pull over, she screamed, grabbing the steering wheel. The car swerved violently. Horns blared around us. I slammed on the brakes, wrestling the wheel back, and managed to pull onto the gravel shoulder. Get out, I yelled. Get out of my car. She suddenly became calm, eerily calm. She smiled, a wide, unhinged grin. You can't get rid of me. We're linked now. She opened the door and stepped out, but she didn't walk away. She stood by the passenger window, staring at me. I didn't wait. I floored the gas, tires spinning in the gravel, and merged back onto the highway, heart pounding out of my chest. I watched her in the rearview mirror until she was a speck. She never moved. She just stood there, watching me leave. I drove for another 2 hours without stopping, constantly checking my mirrors. I thought it was over, just a crazy hitchhike. I reached my hotel in Richmond that evening. I was exhausted. I unpacked my bag and went to take a shower to wash off the stress. When I came out of the bathroom, steam filling the room, I saw something on the bed. My car keys. I had left them on the nightstand. Now, they were in the middle of the bed. Next to them was a piece of paper, hotel stationery. I picked it up. In frantic, scribbled handwriting, it read, I told you, we are linked. I ran to the door. It was still locked and chained from the inside. I looked under the bed. Nothing. I checked the closet. Nothing. Then I realized. The back seat of my car. When I had pulled over and she got out, I'd been so focused on the road. Had she really left? Or had she slipped into the back while I was looking at the traffic? I remembered stopping for gas an hour outside Richmond. I had gone inside to pay. The car was unlocked for maybe 2 minutes. She had been with me the whole time. I called the police, but she was gone. The only trace of her was the note and a small, dirty backpack she had left under my bed. Inside the backpack were photos, dozens of them. Photos of me sleeping in my car at rest stops. Photos of me eating. and one photo of me taken from the back seat of my own car focused on the back of my head while I was driving. I never found her, but sometimes when I'm driving alone at night and I look in the rearview mirror, for a split second, I swear I can see a dark shape sitting in the back seat, smiling.
I've always been skeptical about dating apps. My friends called me old-fashioned, but honestly, the idea of meeting a stranger based on a few carefully curated photos always felt unnatural to me. However, after a brutal breakup and 3 months of spending Friday nights alone in my apartment in downtown Chicago, I caved. I downloaded Tinder. I wish I hadn't. You hear stories about bad dates, awkward conversations, or catfishing. You rarely hear about the feature that almost got me killed, the distance tracker. It was a Tuesday night, raining heavily. The kind of rain that batters against the glass and drowns out the city noise below. I was lying in bed, the blue light of my phone illuminating my face, swiping mindlessly. That's when I matched with Caleb. No bio, just 3 photos. One of him hiking in what looked like the Rockies, one of a dog, and one blurry selfie in a mirror.
He was decent looking, unassuming. We started chatting. The conversation was dry, standard "how are you" and "what do you do" questions. I told him I worked in graphic design. He said he was in logistics. But then I noticed something odd. On his profile, under his name, the distance marker said 1 mile away. "Live in the neighborhood?" I messaged. "Something like that," he replied instantly. I didn't think much of it. Chicago is dense. But 10 minutes later, I checked his profile again to show my roommate, Sarah, who had just walked in. The distance had changed. 0.5 miles away. "Maybe he's driving past," Sarah shrugged, toweling off her wet hair. "Don't be paranoid, Mike." I tried to shake it off. I put my phone on the nightstand and went to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. My apartment is on the 3rd floor of an older brick building. No doorman, just a buzzer system. The hallway smells of old carpet and whatever the neighbors are cooking. Tonight it was dead silent except for the rain. When I got back to my room, my phone buzzed. A message from Caleb. "You shouldn't leave your blinds open. It wastes heat." My stomach dropped. I froze, the glass of water trembling in my hand. My bedroom window faces the alleyway. I slowly turned to look. The blinds were indeed pulled up halfway. I grabbed my phone. The distance marker, 500 feet away. "Who are you?" I typed, my fingers slipping on the screen. "A friend," he replied. "Why don't you invite me up? I'm cold." I ran to the window and slammed the blinds shut, peering through the slats. Down in the alley, under the flickering yellow light of a street lamp, a figure in a dark hoodie was standing perfectly still, looking specifically at my window. He wasn't looking at his phone. He knew exactly which window was mine. I locked my bedroom door. I checked the app again, 100 feet away. Then, the buzzer to the main building entrance rang. It was a long, jarring sound that echoed through the apartment. Sarah poked her head out of her room. "Who's buzzing at 11 p.m.? "Don't answer it," I whispered, rushing to her. "Do not answer it." The buzzer stopped. Silence returned. I watched the app, praying for the distance to increase. 50 feet away. "How?" I whispered. If he was 50 feet away, he was inside the building. He had bypassed the main door. I heard heavy footsteps on the stairs, slow, deliberate. The old wooden stairs of our building creak distinctly. Creak, pause, creak. They stopped right outside our apartment door. Sarah looked at me, eyes wide with terror. I held a finger to my lips and dialed 911 on my keypad.
my thumb hovering over the call button. A soft knock. Tap, tap, tap. Then my phone buzzed with a Tinder notification. "I know you're in there, Mike. I can hear you breathing." The doorknob jiggled, gently at first, then violently. The wood frame rattled. He wasn't trying to be stealthy anymore. He threw his weight against the door. Bam! I hit the call button. 911, someone is breaking into my apartment, I screamed. "Open up!" a voice roared from the hallway. A guttural, angry sound that didn't match the polite texts. We barricaded ourselves in the bathroom. For 5 minutes, we listened to him kick the front door until the wood splintered. We heard him enter the living room. We heard him smashing things. The TV, the lamps. He was screaming my name. Then, sirens. Blue and red lights flashed against the bathroom window. We heard the police shouting, "Police, show me your hands!" and the sound of a scuffle. When we finally came out, the apartment was trashed. The police had arrested a man in his late 30s. He wasn't Caleb. He was a former tenant of the building who had been evicted months ago for stalking another resident. He had used the app to lure people in the area, but he targeted me specifically because he knew the layout of my apartment. The scariest part? When the police confiscated his phone, they found he hadn't just matched with me that night. He had photos of me from inside my apartment taken 3 days ago. He had been living in the crawl space above the hallway ceiling, using the building's Wi-Fi to spoof his location until he was ready to strike. The distance wasn't him driving closer. It was him climbing down from the ceiling. There is a specific kind of loneliness that hits you when you move to a new city. I had just relocated to Seattle for a tech job, and the endless gray skies were starting to get to me. I matched with Elena on a Friday afternoon. She was gorgeous. Dark hair, artistic vibe, claimed to be an architect. We hit it off immediately. The chemistry over text was electric. When she suggested dinner at her place instead of a bar, citing that she made a killer lasagna and hated crowded places, I hesitated for maybe 2 seconds before agreeing. I was a 26-year-old guy. I thought I was invincible. She sent me an address in a very affluent, secluded neighborhood near Discovery Park. The houses there were massive, hidden behind tall hedges and security gates. It was pouring rain when my Uber dropped me off. The house was stunning. A modern glass and concrete structure overlooking the Puget Sound, but it was dark. Only one light was on in the foyer. I rang the bell. Elena opened the door. She looked exactly like her photos, maybe even better. She wore a red dress that seemed a bit too formal for a casual dinner. "You made it," she smiled, but her eyes didn't seem to crinkle. They were fixed, intense. Inside, the house was freezing. Minimalist furniture, bare walls, no personal photos. It smelled faintly of bleach and lavender air freshener, like a hospital trying to mask a scent. "Sorry about the cold," she said, locking the heavy front door behind me. I heard the deadbolt slide home with a heavy thud. "The heating system is acting up." We sat at a long dining table. She poured wine, but I noticed she didn't drink hers. She just watched me. "So, how long have you lived here?" I asked, trying to break the tension. The silence in the house was oppressive. No refrigerator hum, no ticking clocks. "A while," she said, vague. "Do you have family in Seattle, Mark?" "No, just me. My parents are back in Ohio." "Does anyone know you're here tonight?" The question was casual, but the tone was sharp. I paused, the wine glass halfway to my lips. Yeah, my buddy Dave knows." I lied. Nobody knew. Her expression tightened for a fraction of a second. "That's good.
Safety first. I asked to use the restroom. She pointed down a long, dark hallway. Second door on the left. As I walked down the hall, I felt a strange sense of wrongness. I passed the first door. It was slightly ajar. I peeked in. It wasn't a room. It was an office. But the desk was covered in dust sheets. In fact, all the furniture in there was covered. I went into the bathroom. I opened the medicine cabinet out of curiosity. It was empty. Completely empty.
No toothbrush, no aspirin, nothing. This wasn't her house. I pulled out my phone to call an Uber. No service. I tried to connect to Wi-Fi. There was no network. Panic started to set in. I flushed the toilet for appearances and stepped back into the hallway. That's when I heard it. A muffled sound coming from the office I had passed. Not a mechanical sound. A voice. A whimper. I stood frozen outside the office door. The sound came again. Thump, thump. From inside the closet. I pushed the door open. The closet handle had a padlock on the outside, but it wasn't latched properly. I pulled it open. Bound and gagged on the floor was a man in his 50s. He was wearing pajamas. He looked up at me with eyes full of terror and shook his head frantically, signaling, "Behind you." I spun around. Elena was standing in the doorway. She wasn't holding a wine glass anymore. She was holding a cattle prod.
"You lied to me, Mark," she whispered. "I checked your phone location on the app. You didn't text anyone named Dave." She lunged. The electricity crackled. I dodged, the spark missing my ribs by an inch. I shopped her hard. She stumbled back into the hallway wall. I didn't wait. I sprinted for the front door. I fumbled with the deadbolt, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I could hear her scrambling to her feet, screaming something in a language I didn't recognize. I got the door open and burst out into the rain. I didn't stop running until I reached the main road, flagging down a passing delivery truck. The police investigation revealed the truth. Elena wasn't an architect. She was a drifter who specialized in breaking into high-end vacation homes while the owners were away. She would stay there, create fake dating profiles, and lure men over.
The man in the closet was the actual homeowner who had come back unexpectedly a day early. She had overpowered him. They found a bag in the garage. It contained zip ties, surgical tools, and the IDs of 3 other men who had gone missing in Portland and Vancouver over the last 2 years. I was supposed to be number 4.